With the rise of video games becoming movies in the recent years, it only leaves one question. Which of these will also be? At this point, it seems as if the gates have opened for any game to get an adaptation on the big screen. Lately, there have been games you never expect to get a movie actually getting one. Borderlands, Five Nights at Freddy's, even Angry Birds. So today, we got a tier list here. S is the games that I think are certain to get an adaptation at some point, and F are the games that will never leave the consoles. Subscribe to help me reach my goal of 3,000 subs, it really means a lot. Donkey Kong. With the booming success of the Mario movie, it is bound to spawn plenty of spin-offs, and I think the most likely option is a Donkey Kong movie, or maybe even a mini-film of sorts. The movie could focus on the origins of the Kong family and their story about fighting the crocodiles or something. I don't know, I'll be giving this an A tier. I think that is quite likely. Kirby. Since Pokemon, Mario and Zelda are getting movie adaptations. I'd like to think that those aren't the only Nintendo games getting their own films, and I think a likely option is Kirby. With Kirby having interesting lore, plenty of characters, and an anime, I don't think it's completely impossible for the Marshmallow to get a movie. The only problem I think could arise from the plans of this is getting the approval of not only Nintendo, but HAL Laboratory. Aside from that, I think Kirby has a decent shot, so I will give him a B tier. Metroid. Seeing as Metroid is less of a children's franchise and is aimed at your everyday serious gamer, I don't think this will be Nintendo's next choice of a film adaptation. That being said, it would be an interesting movie. Having Samus exploring areas in space could make for a long movie. However, with Metroid being far from Nintendo's most successful series, and the Metroid folk putting their focus towards Prime 4, I think I will give this a C tier. Star Fox. This is probably not going to happen, as Star Fox is an even less popular series than Metroid. It is also a smaller series consisting of 9 games spanning about 30 years. If there is a space-themed franchise Nintendo would choose to make a movie on, it would either be Metroid or Mario Galaxy. D tier. Splatoon. As the years have went on, Splatoon has become one of Nintendo's most supported franchises. This has to be the Nintendo game with some of the most deep and interesting lore, so it would be a treat to see this expanded upon. Splatoon is also a very unique idea that can make for a fun watch, so I will put this into A tier. Animal Crossing. In my opinion, this has probably the least chance of getting a movie out of Nintendo's bigger franchises. I mean, if Animal Crossing gets a movie, then Sims can also get one, and if that is the case, how could they even make a Sims movie, let alone an Animal Crossing movie? With the genre of Animal Crossing lacking any real story, I can't ever see this series getting its own hour-and-a-half long film, so I am giving this one an F. Smash Bros. For some reason, this is one of the biggest Nintendo franchises when it comes to speculation in terms of it getting a movie, but I don't think there's much of a chance of it happening. Firstly, if they weren't to include third-party characters, which at this point is half the appeal of Smash Bros, they would have to get the rights of about 20 to 30 different game franchises, which doesn't seem to be worth it to make a film for. Secondly, if they were only going to use Nintendo characters, then not only would they need to make a consistent art style, seeing as Pikachu has already been put into a real-life adaptation and Mario and DK have been put into an animated one. So as much as it would be cool to have a Smash Bros movie, I don't really ever see this happening, so I'll throw it into D tier. Crash Bandicoot. If Sony was to capitalize off the success of video game movies, then I feel as if they would choose a more light-hearted character to combat the Mario movie. So I think they would probably choose Crash first. Would this mean the movie would be better than a different Sony game getting a movie? Probably not, but I don't think this is impossible. Yet at the same time, I don't really see Sony doing anything like this, so I'm giving Crash Bandicoot a C. God of War. It would be very unique to make a video game movie that is also loosely based off of Greek mythology, and seeing as God of War is one of the most popular PlayStation games, I think this stands right beside Crash Bandicoot as Sony's first choice for a movie, so I'll put this into C. Ratchet & Clank. Once again, one of Sony's other highly regarded franchises that would have a decent shot if Sony were to ever make a video game movie. From what I know, Ratchet & Clank is a much more story-driven franchise than Crash, with them trying to stop Dr. Neo Cortez and everything, so I'll also put this into C to balance things out nicely. Horizon. Now, a quick disclaimer, I know next to nothing about this series, so take everything I am saying with a grain of salt. From what I have gathered, while playing Horizon, you play as Aloy, stuck in a post-apocalyptic world. The story takes place in some of the United States, so that immediately sets the idea of the film being a real-life adaptation. The world is overrun by robots, and yeah, I guess this sounds interesting enough to get a B, I guess. Banjo-Kazooie. The unfortunate downfall of the Bear and Bird probably means we're never getting a movie on it, let alone a new game. Banjo-Kazooie was never really a franchise driven by story anyway, and its lack of relevance means this one is getting an F. Smash Bros is the only thing saving this, but that isn't enough if nothing is happening with the series itself. Undertale. This might be the game I would like to see get a movie the most. The rich and unique story, lovable characters, and impressive popularity could lead to this getting a movie. Toby Fox definitely has the writing skills to produce an entire film-length story, seeing as he basically did that already, so I am giving this an A tier. The reason it isn't S is because it is still an indie game at the end of the day. Deltarune. This is somewhat in the same boat as Undertale, however seeing as Deltarune isn't as popular, isn't going to be finished for another few years, and the story's not being as deep, don't give it much of a chance of getting a movie, so I will give it a C tier. Cuphead. Cuphead isn't the most story-driven game out there, but it does have a TV series, proving it is possible to make a movie out of these two Cupheads. Since Cuphead just finished the DLC, they could put their attention to a movie, so I will give this a B rank. Celeste. This is quite a tricky one, as on the one hand, Celeste is probably the most story-driven platformer of all time, and its plot definitely meets all the requirements of making a good movie. Watching Madeleine's journey up Celeste Mountain, discovering its secrets could be very enticing. However, Celeste is far from the most popular game out there, and the company probably doesn't have the resources to make a film, so I will drop this into D tier. Journey. Now, Journey is one of those games that really feels like it lacks anything. It lacks gameplay, it lacks story, but that's kind of the entire point of it. You play this game for the experience, to feel the sense of atmosphere and loneliness this game emits as you travel through the desert. But I don't think a figure walking through a desert for 2 hours would make for a great movie, so I'm putting this into F. Seeing as Minecraft has received a movie, it isn't impossible for Terraria to follow suit. Terraria also puts much more emphasis on story and progression in comparison to Minecraft, so getting a movie on this game can happen, so B tier it is. Among Us. Despite losing traction over the last few years, Among Us is still going strong, receiving updates and even getting a TV show. Despite not having a story, it still managed to get a series. So getting a detective sci-fi horror movie on this game could be quite special, so I'm saying B tier. Pizza Tower. The plot of Pizza Tower, if you can even call it that, follows Peppino ascending up a tower. Yep, F. Lethal Company. I don't think this game could even benefit from getting a movie, but it isn't impossible. The gameplay is interesting, having to collect scrap pieces and avoid manifestations. D. Fortnite. Fortnite could build a story based off of Save the World, but I don't think they would want to make a movie with buff Peter Griffin without getting some kind of permissions. D tier. Roblox. What story could Roblox themselves even call their own? Would they borrow from the games their users made, such as Doors, Pizza Place, or Dead Silence? I have no idea. D tier. Fall Guys. Yet again, what are these beans going to do for an hour and a half? Train to become the best Fall Guy? D. Team Fortress 2. Heavy and Spy joined forces to become the best team of fortresses the world has ever seen. F. Overwatch. This game actually has a story about being in the future about robots turning against humans, so sure, I guess this one has a bit more potential. C tier. Portal. Finally, a game that's actually built off of a story. The concept of Portal alone shouldn't just be kept to a game. It can and should easily expand to other mediums such as movies, and I think this will happen at some point. Portal is definitely going to evolve as a game and broaden the idea to other forms of entertainment. So with that in mind, along with the fact that Portal is a highly renowned franchise and Valve is a very successful company, I am giving this game our first S tier. Hello Neighbor. The story behind Hello Neighbor is definitely worthy of getting a movie, especially since it has received a TV show of its own. However, I don't think Tiny Build is going to expand from gaming anytime soon, so I'm putting this into D tier. Baldi's Basics. I am quite conflicted on this one when thinking about if the story is even there to make a good film. The implications of Baldi's Basics being an actual game and not existing, while Null is trying to get you to delete it, has the chance to work, but I have no idea how they get extended for an hour and a half, so I'm giving this a D. Cut the Rope. Seeing as Angry Birds has received a movie, it's not impossible for other mobile games to get ones too. Cut the Rope is, in many ways, similar to Angry Birds. Both series have received spin-offs to the main game, sequels that have thousands of levels, and their very own TV series. And seeing as Angry Birds is a paper-thin movie game about flinging balls at wooden towers, they could definitely make a movie about an alien eating candy, so I'm going bold and giving this a B. Subway Surfers. Subway Surfers is another mobile game that, despite not having a story, can still get a movie. It is one of the most successful mobile games of all time, has also received a TV series, and has the resources to make a movie, so what the heck, I'm giving this A tier. Jetpack Joyride. Unlike Angry Birds, Cut the Rope, and Subway Surfers, Jetpack Joyride has never received a TV series. It is also not as successful as any of these other games. Half-Brick doesn't seem like the company to take advantage of the movie market, so I'm giving this a D tier. And finally, Plants vs Zombies. I know this was planned to get a movie and was cancelled, but I still believe that one day we will see a Plants vs Zombies movie. The idea of Plants vs Zombies is too perfect to not get a movie. A survival thriller experience by Crazy Dave building a plant army to survive the zombie apocalypse. That would be a really interesting movie. And seeing as EA owns PopCap, inheriting them more money, PvZ being a household name, and still being relevant to this day, I am giving this a solid S tier. And that is all I have today. Let me know if I should make a sequel to this video discussing more games that I didn't mention. Subscribe, as it genuinely means a lot.